COVID-19 has affected all forms of social and economic activity around the world. In response to the rapid spread of the virus, governments have been forced to implement global measures. They include social distancing, quarantine, partial or total lockdown, and other restrictive measures. However, differences in context cannot be ignored. For instance, how does one practice social distancing or self-isolation in an informal settlement? Joining me now to talk about COVID-19 perceptions and realities of those communities is the CEO of Jalang Peo, I think that's what it's supposed to say, Media, Fofo Lerefolo. Hi, Fofo.
Hi, Thabo.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Looking at the numbers and how they are rising following the lifting of restrictions of lockdown level 4, moving into lockdown level 3, it felt like there's much ease of movement. There's very less things that are limited. For example, you can exercise between 6 and 6 p.m. You can now move around freely. People are getting back to work. Kids are getting back to school. Except, of course, you've got to wear a mask. You've got to follow the protocols. Are people fully internalizing that there is still a danger out there?
Thabo, I can tell you right now that during level 5 and level 4, people were adhering to the lockdown regulations. Now that the levels are at ease or are in advance, people are taking it easy. Now, people are no longer adhering to social distancing or sanitizing. People are no longer putting masks. I was in Sunnyside over the weekend, and it was my shock that I realized that our people are moving in numbers, in groups. People did not put masks, and I was like, people, do they understand that COVID-19 really exists and that it is real and that it is something that kills? People are dying daily because of this virus. So I can tell you that compared to level 5 and level 4, now people are so relaxed. It's no longer like before.
Is it because there is a level of denialism that there is such a virus, or is it just people are lacking knowledge?
I think also is the communication or the language that our government is using. Remember, Thabo, that we have people on the ground that do not understand the type of language that our government is using. So, like, people are having mixed emotions in terms of the language. Like I say, you cannot talk to people in the informal settlement and use languages like policies, like strategic plan. Use the language that people will understand when you communicate with them to adhere to social distancing or putting masks. So the problem is the mechanism that our government is using to communicate with people, especially on the ground.
What happens, for example, somebody like you who is aware of the virus and its impact, when you raise these issues with people around you, when you, for example, insist on people to observe social distancing or to put on their masks or to sanitize, what's the reaction that you get?
I mean, they will only adhere at that point, or some they will just ignore, because also social media spread different information regarding COVID-19. So it depends again on what kind of people are you engaging with in terms of COVID-19 virus, as well as, like, I'm talking about the language that the government is using. As the Community Constituency COVID-19 Front is an organization that has been on the ground since level 5. And we are on the ground as NPOs, as different people, to engage with people on the ground on following the regulations, on taking care of their lives. But like I say, it depends on what kind of people are you engaging with. Some people, they don't have resources like me and you, Thabo, that can access social media and see what is happening. Others, they rely on TV, others, they rely on radio. But the point is, we need to be on the ground. Government must allow us, so civil society, because we work with these people on the ground every day. We know the language that we have to use. So they must utilize us. They must release resources so that we are able to go door to door to these people and help them to understand that COVID-19 is real and it's here.
Yeah. I want you to simplify it for us, because we want people to understand. We want even the powers that be to get a sense of what you're talking about. For example, there is a set number of people who need to attend a funeral. But we are seeing non-compliance, non-adherence to that number, and people in the townships will tell you, look, death is a very important thing. We need to go and mourn with the family, so they will get mourners in and out throughout the week, and there'll be people not social distancing, not wearing masks. How do you communicate that to that community in a way that they can understand?
Thabo, I was in a funeral in a place called Magaliesberg like 3 weeks ago, and it was scary. We had about like 200 people attending a funeral. And because people do not, and also we must not forget that we are the Black African people. We, like you say, we like to comfort people, we like to support people that are in bereavement. But also, like I'm talking about the language that we have to use when talking to people on the ground. That if we are on the ground as civil society to make people understand that this virus is real, people need to put on their masks, people need to sanitize, people need to social distance. It is still something that is new to us as people, this pandemic. But we must also understand that there's a language. I'm still going to put or stress my point on language of how do we communicate with people. Let's do an example about MEC in Northwest. Me and you can believe that the MEC had resources. The MEC could afford to pay a medical aid, but this virus does not choose who you are. So the language that we use to communicate with people on the ground, like I say, if we are able during the elections to go door to door to people to tell them who to vote and how to vote, why can't the government also use us as a society to go and speak to these people door to door? As I'm saying, technology or TV or radio cannot, they do help, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
Unlike when people get information from us verbally.
But